Hi, my name is Carrie and welcome to my yoga series. So today's class is going to be focusing on foundations. So this is going to be part 2 of foundations today. If you did not check out the first one, check the link in the bio and you'll be able to access the first class where we go over Surya Namaskar A, alignment for chaturanga and things like that. Today we're going to go over some other poses as well as the Surya Namaskar B. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but just know it's still going to help you build foundation and proper alignment so that when these classes do come up, when you do go to a public class, you'll know how it feels in the body and where that alignment should be. So have a mat if you do have one. A couple of blocks is very helpful. If you don't have them, that's totally okay. A stack of books will work. So once you roll out your mat, we'll begin. So today we'll actually begin in our child's pose. And our child's pose is going to be our safe space. So no matter how difficult the class gets, know that no matter how tired you are, you have this position that you can come to so that you can find and reconnect with your breath again. So what you're going to do is you have your knees nice and wide onto your mat, have your toes come together behind you, and then relax the arms all the way down towards the mat as you relax your forehead. So this is our child's pose or Malasana. You can come here as many times as you need throughout the practice to help you reconnect with your breath if things get a little tough. And then we're going to settle into our long inhales and exhales, our Ujjayi pranayama here. So again, finding that gentle constriction to the back of the throat as you inhale nice and big, followed by a nice long exhale out the nose. Finding that gentle constriction so that you can lengthen the breath with each inhale and exhale. Really good. One more. Good. As you let out that final exhale, you're going to slowly lift your forehead up, maybe tent the fingertips, reach the fingertips nice and long so you start feeling a little bit of a stretch through your lats, and then start to tiptoe the fingers over towards the right-hand side, but keep the hands far apart. You want to create some space for your traps. Relax your forehead down once they go over towards the right, and then really think about lengthening forward with that left hand as your left hip anchors back. So you feel a nice lengthening stretch happening through that left side body. Good. Still maintaining that nice long breath. Good. One more here. Good. As you find your next inhale, lift your forehead again, and then walk the hands all the way back to center before you tiptoe the fingers, this time over towards the left. Same thing, create some space between the hands to create space for your traps, and then reach that right hip back behind you as you rest your forehead down. Nice and soft through the jaw, nice long breaths, 3 if you can. Good. One more big inhale and exhale here. And then slowly again, pick up your head, walk your hands all the way back to the front. Find that one final stretch. And then slowly slide the hands back behind you so that you can lift yourself up onto your hands and your knees. So once you're on your hands and knees are stacked right underneath the hips, so narrow the stance. And then you can rotate the fingers out slightly, and then the wrists are stacked underneath shoulders. If you're really tight through the traps, you can open up your hands a little bit wider. But wherever you are, once you land, take a nice big inhale as you drop the belly, lift the tailbone as well as your gaze, finding that gentle arch through the back in cow pose. And then as you exhale, round the spine, pull the shoulder blades apart from each other, tuck your tailbone and chin underneath. Good. Allow yourself to go back and forth between the two through Chakravarkasana. As you begin to open up into the spine, since we did the sideways laterals, we're now just doing flexion and extension. So allowing us yourselves to go forward and back. Yeah, do your best to articulate the movements nice and slow so you can kind of get to know where the tension is in the body. For me, I lifted weights yesterday, so I'm feeling it through my mid back. So be kind, because depending on how we live and what we did the day before, our bodies will definitely feel it. Really good. Take around one more round at your own pace. Good. Slowly come back into a nice neutral spine, and then you're going to walk your hands forward, and then you're going to find yourself in an either plank on the knees, or you can do full plank if you'd like. Take a nice big inhale breath as you push the earth away, separating the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, slowly lower yourself all the way down to the ground, keeping your chest lifted, your shoulder heads lifted, and your elbows back. Good. You're going to release yourself all the way down. And once you do, you're going to plant your hands firmly, untuck the toes, and then push into the hands to lift through the chest, tighten through the legs, and then exhale, lower. Good. We'll do 2 more like that. Inhale, lift. And then exhale, lower. Good. 1 more time. Inhale, push and lift. Keeping the elbows and shoulders back and down, and then exhale, lower. Good. Tuck your toes from here. You can push yourself up to your knees or up to your plank, whichever you choose, and then lift your hips all the way up and back into your downward facing dog. So we'll go through the gentle cues of downward dog. Just as a reminder, you're going to make sure your heels are disappearing behind the toes as you gently ground the heels down towards the earth. And from there, instead of having your pelvis tilted forward, think about pushing your booty back and up towards the sky. And then shrug up the shoulders, really pushing down into the hands, especially the top knuckles and the fingertips, to alleviate a little bit of weight from the wrists. Good. Your spine is nice and long, which means your neck is long as well. So maybe take a look up towards your belly button, and then take a nice big breath in through the nose, followed by a big exhale out the mouth. Let it go. Good. 1 more like that. Big breath in, followed by a big breath out. Good. On your next inhale, look forward towards the front of the mat. And then exhale, we'll take some small steps to the front. So rather than taking one big step, think about taking maybe a step that's about 1 inch long in distance, and then straighten the leg. And then bend the left knee and step the left foot forward, and then straighten that leg. And then just take your time, one at a time, as you start opening up into the back of the legs, into the hamstrings. As you walk your feet forward, you could always come up to fingertips if you need a little bit more space. And then once your feet arrive and meet the hands, make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. You could also bring them a little bit wider and take a nice forward fold. Good. So even in your forward fold, you have the option of doing a couple things. If you know that your spine is carrying more tension than your legs are, then you can bend your knees a lot so that you have a little bit more space to drop your torso down, so that creates a little bit more traction for the spine. And then you can gently sway side to side, grabbing opposite elbows. So this is ragdoll right here. If you're like, my back feels fine, I'm actually feeling a lot of tension through my legs. So if that's the case, then straighten out the legs a little bit more. Your spine's going to come up a little bit, and then you're going to feel a little bit more tension at the back of the legs and the hamstrings. And then you can gently sway side to side here as well. So again, make sure you're picking the position that best suits your body's needs for the day. Every day is different. We should expect our bodies to also be different depending on what we've done the day before and what we plan to do today as well. Once you find those gentle sways back and forth, take 1 more breath here. Good. And then gently plant the hands, or just lower the hands back down. Bend the knees a lot, and then you're going to slowly scoop the spine up. Head and neck are the last things to come up. Beautiful. Once you arrive, you're going to bring your feet together so that your toes to touch, and there's a small gap in the heels. We're going to find our Surya Namaskar B here today. So on your next inhale, sweep the arms forward towards the front as you start to sit back into that nice, long, strong chair pose. So in chair pose, think about, rather than having your knees come forward, your knees are pushing back as well as your hips. Your booty's not pushing back like it is in downward facing dog. It's also tucking forward slightly, so it creates a nice, long spine. From there, if you'd like to arch through the upper back just a little bit, lift through the chest, and then sit down a little bit lower. Take a nice big inhale here for Utkatasana. And then find a nice big exhale as you forward fold and let it all go back down towards the ground. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift, slide the hands up the shins, roll the elbows and shoulders back, lengthening the spine forward. And then as you exhale, plant the hands back down towards the earth, step your feet back into that high plank, Or you could always plank on knees and then lower down halfway, elbows back. Good. Roll over the toes, lift through the chest for either upward facing dog or cobra. And then as you exhale, send your hips all the way up and back into our downward facing dog. Good. Rather than lifting the leg, take the right leg and you're just going to step it forward between the hands. And then that back foot's going to pivot so that the entire foot is on the ground and it's pointing at a 45-degree angle. And then as you inhale, you're going to rise all the way up to our warrior one. And we've been here before if you did foundations one. You're thinking about really pushing your left hip forward and your right hip back so that your hips are nice and even towards the front. Gently tucking the pelvis a little bit, reaching through the chest up towards the sky. Good, and finding our warrior one here. Take a nice big breath in. And then as you exhale, send both hands back down as you frame the front foot. Pick up that back heel, send the right foot back to meet the left. And then nice and strong, you could always skip this one if you'd like, but if you'd like to put in a little bit of work, you can lower yourself down. You could also do it on knees in Chaturanga Dandasana. And then again, roll over the toes as you lift through the chest and upward facing. And then as you exhale, send it all the way back to our downward facing dog. So just like we did warrior one on the left, on the right, we're gonna do it again on the left. So rather than taking the left leg up, think about just taking the left foot forward and step it between the hands. Back foot's gonna pivot so the entire foot is on the ground. And as you find that inhale breath, you're gonna use your core strength to come all the way up to Virabhadrasana 1 on the left side. So again, push the left hip back, right hip forward, sit nice and deep into that front knee, pull the ribs in, lift through the chest, reach through the arms. Good. Take another big inhale here once you find that alignment. And then as you exhale, both hands back down towards the earth. Pivot that back heel up. Send the left foot back to meet the right. And then nice and strong, any version of the Chaturanga Dandasana as you lower yourself down halfway. Roll over the toes as you lift through the chest. And then as you exhale, send it all the way up and back into that downward facing dog again. Take another big breath in, followed by a big breath out. Good, we'll do that one more time. Big breath in, and then big breath out. Inhale again, look forward towards the front of the mat. And then exhale, take one big step for your feet to meet the hands. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift. And then as you exhale again, forward fold. Inhale, rise up to chair pose again. And if your feet aren't together, that's okay. Just make sure your knees are tracking forward in the same direction as the toes. Sit back nice and low, lift through the chest. And then as you exhale, come all the way back up to stand in Samastitihi. Good. Now that we've done it a little bit slower, we're going to take it up a little bit faster just so that we can have one movement per breath. And we'll just go through that cycle one more time. So on your next inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold as you let it all go to the ground. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift. And then exhale again as you plant the hands, step your feet back into that high or low plank on knees, whichever you choose, and then lower yourself down halfway. Roll over the toes as you lift through the chest for upward facing. And then exhale all the way up and back into your downward facing dog. Good. Inhale, right foot forward. Pivot the back foot around so that the entire foot is on the ground. Rise up with that inhale breath. And then again, exhale, float both hands back down towards the earth. Send the right foot back. Good. And we'll send the hips all the way up and back into downward facing dog this time. Good. And then left foot steps forward to meet the hands. Back foot pivots. Inhale, rise up, warrior one on the left. And then again, exhale, both hands back down towards the earth. Left foot back to meet right. And then any variation of your vinyasa, your Chaturanga Dandasana as you lower yourself down. Untuck the toes as you lift through your chest. And then exhale, send it all the way up and back into your downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. Once you arrive, our active rest, take a nice big breath in, followed by a big breath out. Good. One more big breath in. And a big breath out. Inhale again, look forward towards your hands. Exhale, walk your feet up to meet them. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift, lengthen the spine forward. And then again, exhale, forward fold as you let it all go. Inhale, come all the way back up to chair pose. And then exhale, come all the way up to stand. Uttanasana. 2. Tadasana. Great job. So that's Surya Namaskar B. You'll see it in a lot of vinyasa flow classes as well as Ashtanga classes. And you can do those chaturangas or skip them as many times as you need. It does build a lot of strength and it does feel pretty good in the body once you've done them. So we're going to come into the next position today, and it's going to be the lunge. And there's a lot of alignment things in lunge that happen, so I wanted to go over that today. So on your next inhale, we're going to find that chair pose just like we did in our Surya Namaskar B. So Utkatasana again, nice and strong. Good. And then as you exhale, you're going to take that left foot and slide it all the way back behind you. Good. Once you arrive into that lunge, you're going to find the position. So again, you're going to bring your hands down and find it against your hips. Your hips are likely going to be tilted back because there's a lot of tension that really happens through our hips in tightness in our pelvic tilt. So think about bending the back knee so that you can bring your pelvis into a more neutral position. It's not necessarily pushing back. And then from that, with your pelvis in a nice neutral position, hold your hands there so that your hips don't move. And then slowly reach that left foot back using the hips as an anchor. If you're doing it like that, you're going to start to feel really big stretch happening in the front of that right hip because that leg is really pulling back with the hips anchored forward. Once you have that, bend deeply into that right knee just a little bit more, and then maintain the draw in of the ribs as you reach the arms up nice and high. Good. Here's our lunge. On your next inhale, reach. And then on the exhale, cactus the elbows out to the sides, lifting the heart up towards the sky. So we're going to do a small back bend. Good. One more time. Inhale, lengthen. Reach the arms up. And then exhale, elbows out to the sides. Really good. Inhale, reach the arms back up high. And then exhale, bring both hands back down towards the earth. Good. And then from here, we're going to take that right ankle and you're going to slide it over towards that left wrist. And then we're going to lower ourselves down to our pigeon pose. So a pigeon pose is basically like figure 7 through that front hip with that left leg extended back behind you. But depending on our flexibility, we're going to fall into a lot of different areas. So make sure the right knee and the left ankle are on opposite sides of the mat. And if you are a little bit tighter through the hips, make sure the foot is a little bit closer to your hips, bending down, rather than having it parallel towards the front of the mat. And that's going to give you a little bit more ease to be able to settle into your hips. Look back behind you. Make sure that the left leg is going directly behind you and not out to the side. And then once you have that, you can either come onto your fingertips, taking a small back bend as you lift through the chest. Take a nice big breath in. Before you exhale and slowly start to settle down onto your elbows. To settle into your pigeon pose. So this one's a really big external hip opener. Know that there's a lot of different modifications and variations of this position. You could do this seated in your on the mat. You could do it on your back or even against the wall or in a chair. I have different modifications available in different classes that I teach online, but know that this is the traditional way that a lot of yogis come into pigeon. So if this is something that you want to try, just make sure you're being kind and nice to your hips because it's a lot of weighted pressure. And if you are feeling any tension in that knee, flex that right ankle so that it's pointing up towards that knee, and that'll help support the joint. Okay. Wherever you are, see if you can unclench your jaw, relax through your shoulders. You're going to pretend it's not hard. Good. And see if you can settle into about 4 more breaths. Good. Last 3. Good. Final 2. Good. Last one. Good. Slowly take your time to come back up into your hands. Good. Come out of this one. You're just going to tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, and then slowly lift yourself up. And then pick up that foot, send it all the way back behind you, give it a nice big shake. It is a big one for the hip before you lower that foot back down towards the earth. Good. So on your next inhale, you roll yourself into that nice strong plank position. Let's see if we can lower down one more time. Exhale, chaturanga. Roll over the toes as you lift through the chest, upward facing. And then exhale again as you up and back into your downward facing. Take a nice big breath in as you look again forward towards the front of the mat. And then exhale, step your feet forward to meet the hands. Good. Inhale again, flat back, halfway lift. Straighten the legs, lengthen the torso forward, roll the shoulders back. And then exhale again, forward fold as you let it go. Inhale, rise all the way back up to the top. Hands up, look up as you reach. And then exhale, you bring your hands to heart center or out to the sides, down by your hips. Tapas reset. Good. We're going to do the whole thing again on the other side. So on your next inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Good. Find that gentle alignment. And then as you find strength and stability, start to slide that right foot back behind you into that lunge. Good. Once that leg arrives, you can have the left and right foot have their own sides for a little bit of ease in balance. And then again, bend that back knee, bring your hands to your hips. Right hip pushes forward, left hip pushes back. Your left hip, if it's higher, it's going to come into a nice neutral position so they're in the same plane. Sit a little bit lower into that lunge. Once you have that, start to extend back into that heel without tilting the hips. Your glutes are engaged. Good. Keep the ribs drawn in, reach the arms high. Good. Take a nice big inhale breath here. And then exhale, cactus the elbows, lift your heart up towards the sky, small back bend. Good. Inhale again as you reach. Exhale again, cactus. Good. Inhale again as you reach. And then this time, exhale, plant both hands down towards the front of the mat. Good. You can come up onto your fingertips or flatten the palms if you feel like you can. And then slowly start to walk that left foot over towards the right wrist so that you can slowly start to lower yourself down into your pigeon on the left side. So again, the more flexible you are, the easier it's going to be to bring this shin closer to parallel towards the front. But again, if you're really tight, rather than that, slide the heel closer to the hips, but keep flexing that foot. Once you have that, just gently drop the hips to wherever they will go. And know that if this is also too intense, you have the option of using the blocks. You set that underneath the hips for support, just like that. Good. But wherever you are, take your time. Maybe take a moment to lift through the chest, find that small back bend before you exhale and slowly lower yourself down to your elbows. So without the expectation that they'll be the same, because for me, this is definitely my dominant leg, so this leg is a little bit tighter. So if it's the same for you, be kind mentally towards that leg, knowing that it supports you a little bit more throughout the day. And then just make sure everything is still in line. Look back behind you. Make sure that right leg is going straight back. Everything feels okay in that front knee. And then you're allowing yourself to settle in. Relax your jaw and your shoulders. Focusing on those nice long exhales. Good. One more breath. Good. As you finish up that final exhale, take your time to slowly come back up to hands. Good. Support yourself as you tuck the back toes, as you lift the back knee up off the mat, and then slide that left foot all the way back behind you as you shake out that leg. And then gently plant that foot back down towards the earth. Take another big inhale as you look forward towards the front of the mat. And then exhale, walk your feet up to meet the hands. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift. Last time, exhale, forward fold. Inhale again, rise all the way to the top, hands up, look up as you reach, Tadasana. And then exhale, hands to heart center, or hands down to the sides as you let it go. Great job. So I did want to go over Malasana as well today because it's another one that a lot of us have a difficulty getting into, and that is dependent on hip mobility as well as ankle mobility. So we have a couple of different options. You have the option of utilizing the block. So you can take the block at any height that'll best support your needs and allow yourself to prop yourself on there and then find yourself open like this. Or if you'd like to try without the block, but you know that your heels don't quite touch the ground, the other option is to use the mat. So you can roll the mat actually as many times as you need to create a little bit of a platform and a little bit of height. And then you're going to bring most of the foot off the mat. It's just the heel that's going to be supported. And then you can try to find the squat here. So whether it's a rolled towel or your rolled mat, you can bring that height up as high as you need it to help support that ankle mobility. And then see if you can sit from here. Good. But wherever you are, once you find that Malasana squat, rather than doing the typical version where we take the elbows up to the inner thighs and allow ourselves to bring our hands to prayer and heart center, we're going to do an active position this time. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your arms come forward out in front of you. And then rather than your knees just relaxing in like this, think about actively opening the knees out to the sides. When you actively open up like that, your glutes are really going to start turning on and doing the work. And then you can raise yourself just about a ½ inch off the mat and then just allow yourself to hold that. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You're going to build a lot of hip stability and strength. So do your best to breathe. We're going to be here for 4 more breaths, not seconds. Good. Last 3. Good. 2 more. Good. Last one. Good. Inhale here. Exhale, lower the hands all the way back down towards the earth. Step strongly into your feet so that you can lift your hips all the way up. And then bring your toes facing forward and then just find a nice wide forward fold. Great job. If you'd like to give yourself a little bit of a massage through the legs, you put in so much work, as well as the hips. You can give your side of the hips a gentle tap. Good. And then take your time to bend the knees and then slowly roll yourself back up to stand. If you did have the rolled mat underneath you, gently roll it all the way back out. And then you're going to find yourself your comfortable seat. Okay, so we're going to find our seated posture today. Today is Janu Shirshasana. So what you're going to do, rather than Paschimottanasana, which is basically both legs extended with a forward fold, we're going to just take it one at a time. So we're going to take our right leg extended, and then you're going to take your left foot and bring it into your inner thigh. And if you know that this external hip opening is really hard for you, you can take a block or a book and set it underneath that knee for support. Okay, you're going to flex that right foot back so that the leg stays nice and active. And then you're going to untuck your booty so it's more behind you than underneath you. Same rules apply here in the forward fold. Rather than rounding through the spine, trying to bring your forehead to your knee or your shin, think about flattening the spine as much as you can, pushing your belly forward almost, as if you're trying to get your belly to touch your thigh before your forehead ever hits your shin. So again, lengthen forward, and instead of looking down, keep looking forward or slightly up so that you can hinge from your hips, and it'll really deepen the stretch through the legs. So again, breathe here nice and big. And you know that you can always work towards going a little bit lower with each breath rather than starting out at 100%. Good. We'll take 2 more breaths. Good. Last one. Beautiful. Slowly start to pick yourself all the way back up. Use your hands to help bring the left knee in as you extend it back out. And then we'll go to the other side. Right foot comes into the inner thigh, knee comes out to the side, left foot is flexed back. And then again, nice flat spine. As you take your hands against your extended leg and gently leverage yourself down. The difference is stark. So again, be kind, breathe big, soft jaw, soft shoulders. Good, and again, be kind to yourself as you allow your body to open up in a safe way. Good, 3 more breaths. Good, final 2. Really good, last one. Good, gently peel yourself back up to the top. Ooh, good. Bend both knees, and then just take a couple of side-to-side 90-90s, and I just like to do this for the sake of my hips, really focusing on the knee that's turning inwards because we just did a lot of external rotation. We hardly do a lot of internal rotation, so just working on the knee that's coming in. Beautiful. We'll gently bring the knees back to center, extend the legs out in front of you, bring them to the edge of the mat so that you have enough space behind you, and slowly lower yourself all the way down towards the earth. Beautiful. Once you arrive, you're going to bring both arms all the way up overhead, like you're doing a full body stretch. Think about lengthening. Good, and then we're just going to find a lateral. So what we're going to do is we call it banana pose. You're going to take your feet and you're going to walk them over towards the right side of the mat as far as they will go comfortably, and then cross your left ankle over your right one, but your left booty stays on the ground. You're going to do the same thing with the upper body. Head, neck, shoulders, shift also over towards the right side, and then your right hand will grab the left wrist and gently guide that arm over. You'll feel a nice long stretch happening from that left armpit all the way down to that left ankle, especially the IT bed if you are a runner, if you do cardio, things like that. But lengthen through and breathe deep into that left side as you find that stretch. This is a really good alternative for the supine twist, especially if you have L4-5 disc issues. It's considered a contraindication, the supine twist, so this is a really good one to do instead. Both shoulder points stay on the ground, both hip points stay on the ground. Nice long breath still. We're going to take 2 more on this side. Beautiful, last one. Good. As you finish up that breath, you're going to uncross your ankles, allow your feet to come all the way back to the middle. You're going to release the wrists, same thing, head, neck, shoulders come back to middle. Middle might not quite feel like middle, so we're going to realign by bringing your knees into your chest. Bringing your forehead up to meet the knees, give yourself a nice big hug. And then slowly lower yourself all the way back down towards the earth, extending everything back out so that we can start walking the feet over towards the left this time, crossing right ankle over left one, right booty stays on the ground. Same thing, head, neck, and shoulders also shift over towards the left so that we create that nice flat banana shape. Left hand there grabs right wrist this time as you guide it over. Still, nice long breaths. As you breathe a little bit deeper into that right side. Good, as we allow our bodies to settle for 2 more breaths. Beautiful, 1 more. As you finish that final breath, unhook the ankles, unhook the wrists, allow everything to come back to middle. And then again, bring your knees into your chest, giving yourself a nice big hug, bringing up your forehead to meet the knees. And then relax the forehead down. We'll take a happy baby as you take your feet up towards the sky. Grab the outsides of your feet. Your toes are pointing outwards and so are your knees. And you're just going to give yourself a gentle rock side to side. Usually feels pretty good for the lower back, as well as the hips. Once you finish up that happy baby, you're going to relax the knees back into your chest as you release the feet. Turn yourself into a tight little ball. Take a nice big inhale breath as you take that breath, squeeze the body, hold the breath at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale the breath as you release the body all the way back down towards the earth. Good. Taking a moment in Shavasana today to find stillness, because we already put in the physical work of working on our bodies. Now it's just allowing ourselves to come into our headspace, acknowledging how we feel, not only physically, but again, emotionally and mentally, to see where we're at today. Noticing that little voice that arises within and what it tells you in stillness. There's a lot of criticism, a lot of judgment that's already going around quite a bit. We also do that to ourselves quite a lot. So see if you could be kind to yourself as you become a little bit more aware about who you are, how you function, and what you can do for yourself to create a little bit more joy and a little bit more peace. Allow your breath to soften as it comes back to its natural pace and rhythm. Relax your shoulders, unclench your hips. Unfurl the space between the brows to relax your jaw. Just take one last moment to allow yourself to let go and be. If you'd like to stay a bit longer, please allow yourself to do so. If we are ready to connect to the world, we'll invite a nice big breath in, followed by a long exhale out to let everything go. Gently wiggling your fingers and your toes, rolling out your ankles and your wrists. If one last full body stretch does call to you today, allow yourself to reach through the arms as well as the legs one last time. Take your time, move nice and slow, allowing yourself to bring your knees into your chest, giving yourself one final squeeze before rolling over to your favorite side into that comfortable fetal position. Allowing ourselves to reset for the rest of the day, no matter how the rest of the day has already gone. Your chance to reset is here. So take a moment, acknowledge your needs, and just allow the day to meet you where you're at. And as you set that intention, slowly come up to your comfortable seat. But again, please take your time. Once you arrive, one hand over the heart, one hand over the belly. Starting something new, being new at something is really difficult, but know that that's where it starts before you start getting good at it. Thank you so much for joining this foundations class, as well as the first if you have. Thank you for allowing me to guide your practice today, from my heart to yours. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you.